Well, hello, Christian Metal Group. My name is Jimmy Sarles, and we have Jay Goodwin here. We're part of the leadership team for the Christian Metal Group. Mm-hmm. And today we have the band known as Brotality. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic.
Doing great.
Can't complain.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Yes. Well, so introduce yourself and tell us what your role is in the band.
My name is Bryce. I'm on guitar and vocals.
I'm Reece. I'm on bass and vocals.
Yeah. I'm John. I play drums.
Nice. All right, Jay, we'll kick us off.
All right, cool. So one thing we like to do is discuss your introduction to Christianity and your introduction to metal. Since this is Christian metal interview, so yeah, let's talk about those two things.
Yeah, cool. So Bryce and I grew up, our parents are Christian, so we grew up going to church. And so kind of with that, like our parents also were always into metal. So the two were always kind of hand in hand. Like we always grew up kind of within that scene. We'd go to festivals like Creation Fest and like Purple Door and Rev Gen, like all these like Christian Fest, like a lot of them aren't even around anymore. But we used to go to them all the time, like every year since we were like really
So who
young.
Who were a few of your mom and dad's favorite bands?
So my dad was a huge As I Lay Dying fan. He really liked The Devil Wears Prada. They really liked For Today, Fit for a King, like on like their second album. Yeah, who else? Our mom loves Flyleaf too. Like diehard old school fan. So
Nice.
yeah. Am I missing any?
Yeah, no, I always think it's funny looking back on it because back then that was just the music we were exposed to all the time. But then realizing that like a lot of bands like The Devil Wears Prada, like with all the synth breakdowns, like their scene was like kids with like fingerless gloves and green hair, and like that's what my parents were listening to. So, yeah, but big, yeah, Reece nailed all the big ones.
That's awesome.
Wow.
John?
I was raised, I guess, loosely Catholic. I don't really know how to describe it, just loosely going to church, and I went to CCD in elementary and middle school. Aside from that, I was introduced to metal by both my parents. My mother's a huge System of a Down fan. She used to play it in the house while cleaning up and everything, so I would hear that all the time. She also had a skate shop at one point, and when I would hang out there, I would hear it. I would hear it there a lot. And my dad was like an old school metal fan. He loved Black Sabbath. He got me into Metallica, anyone in the big four. All the classics like, Pantera. I listened to a lot of Lamb of God also from him. He was a musician. My mother sang a little bit, so I was just kind of always around music.
Yeah. So how did that lead into you becoming a drummer?
Well, my dad played guitar, and so did my older brother. And that I kind of just figured like, oh, I'm not going to also play guitar. And he would also see me, like, my grandmother had this rack of like cookware that I would always kind of hit wooden spoons off of just to be annoying. And my dad was like, let's get him a drum set. So he got me a kit when I was 9, and I just kind of picked it up from there.
Awesome. Did you learn to play by ear, or how did that happen?
Yeah, I took lessons from a friend of my dad's for like a month, and then I took lessons at this other place for like 2 months, both when I was like in the very, very beginner stages, like when I was 9 or like 10. And then after that, I self-taught from there.
Awesome.
And what about the rest of you all?
Bryce and Reece, did y'all learn other instruments, and how did you become to play what you are?
Yeah, so we started like our parents were both musicians, especially my dad. He always had like guitars and basses around the house, and he would always play. So for both of us, we're like 18 months apart in age, but for both of our 7th birthdays, we got guitars. So, like I'd always kind of like mess around on my dad's guitar, but then for my 7th birthday, he got me this like blacked out like mini Ibanez RG. I was like, oh, this is sick metal.
Yeah.
And so then I started like messing around with that. And he would like sit down with us for 15 minutes a day. It's like, all right, you got to do this like non-negotiable 15 minutes, and just show us some stuff. And that really helped like get that like interest going and help us get over like the very initial learning curve and to a place where like we were really stoked about learning. So yeah, then just from there, I've been going on and on with guitar and like done some lessons with some other awesome people.
Yeah, so like Bryce said, I started on guitar too. And like I enjoyed it, but it was kind of just something that like Bryce was always more into, and he was a little bit older than me too, so like he had more experience at it, he had more time at it. And so Bryce had always like explained how badly he wanted to be in a band, like since he was like super young. And I remember that like the first few years of us like playing together when we were still in like the single digits of age, and then like early like adolescence, I remember like I didn't necessarily share that same like want, but I kind of like I felt bad because he wanted to be in a band so badly, and like I did play music, and so I was like, you know, maybe if I play something different, that will kind of be conducive to a band. So I wasn't really feeling guitar anyway, so I picked up a bass. I think my dad got it for me, our parents got it for me for Christmas or my birthday, and yeah, I started playing that, and I just started enjoying it more and more. And then yeah, it worked out well because bass and guitar, that's like 2/3 of what we need for a band. And then we started playing live not too late after.
Yeah, and when Reece says that I wanted to be in a band really badly, like there were points where when I was a kid where I would like cry myself to sleep because I wanted to be in a band so bad.
Was
And
this
that's,
like
all I
was this
could
like
think
last
about.
year or how long?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Last
yeah.
year. I did last night. Cried myself to sleep. Totally unrelated, but just
So did Reece said, "Look, we cannot start a band until you grow your hair out. You got to have the look." Is
Yeah.
that what it was? Yeah,
exactly, exactly. Yeah. And then ever since then, I've boycotted barbershops all my life.
nice.
Yeah, that's weird. That's funny. So how did you all meet, John?
So we like started the band with another drummer, and then he dropped out of the band because he was just like going out down a different path in life. And then so I go to school. Both of us go to school at SUNY Oneonta, which is a New York State school.
Okay.
And just going there, I'm in the music industry program, or I was. I'm now an alumni.
I
Crazy.
was about to say, I saw your graduation picture. Good job. You made it.
Thank you. Yeah, I went to SUNY Oneonta, and there I met a good friend of mine who went. It was a great friend of John's. His name is Michael Aaron. They like went to high school together and played a bunch of stuff together. And Mike knew that I was looking for like another drummer to possibly step in and fill the role, and he was like, "Oh man, you gotta talk to my friend John." And I remember him saying like, "Yeah, John is like a huge metalhead, but because of like the scene where we grew up, all he's ever played in is like indie bands. So this would be perfect for
True.
John."
Really true.
And then yeah, we got a message from John asking about the band, and then he sent us a little tape, and absolutely killed it. Covered
Oh, nice.
covered Empty Existence, which is
Yeah.
props on hitting a deep cut, John. Yeah, like did the full song on that, like, and then ever since then, like we got together. I think it was the day before Thanksgiving of 2022. And then ever since then, it was just like it was time to roll. And even in that first practice, we were talking about like, yeah, this summer we want to go on tour for like 6 weeks. And he was pretty much like, yeah, we'll do it. Like, I'm down.
So, John, how long you been in the band now?
Man, I don't know why I'm so horrible at this. I always end up calling it 3 Februaries ago now.
So
I guess
it's been a while.
when I joined. Yeah.
How many
So-
moons is that?
Yeah, so something. I don't know. Whatever that time frame amounts to.
So, what piqued your interest to want to, interview for the band?
Well, again, our mutual friend, he told me metal band needed a drummer, and I said it's about time because I've literally never been able to explore that really, aside from like, I played metal songs with my older brother all the time growing up, like daily. But to be in like a fully fleshed out project with it, that got me excited. And then when I listened to their first album, I was more or less hooked, I guess. I was just like, oh, these guys are legit. This will be fun. And then I went for it.
Nice. So, and Reece, you're in school, the same school Bryce graduated from?
Yeah, so I like in school I've always been just by the age difference 2 years behind Bryce.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm still at school. I only have one more semester to go because I've kind of tried to like expedite school as much as possible so that like when I could graduate close to them, it'll only be like a few months difference, and then we can hit the road more than ever.
Nice.
Well, so I remember I met your parents on tour.
Yeah.
They're pretty rad. Y'all were super blessed there. And so I
Yeah.
remember them telling me they're both teachers, correct?
Yeah.
So I guess so. What I'm getting at here is, so going to college and learning what you did. Do you believe that was beneficial for your specific career? Like, did you learn things that really helped you? Like, what's your take on that?
Ooh. You guys should, you just
Your,
graduated.
your parents aren't going to see this.
So I dual majored in music industry and business economics.
Good.
And
Yeah.
I think like I had a amazing time at school. Like I absolutely loved it. I had a great 4 years and I definitely learned a lot. But like I think the majority of like career prep, because our main goal is the band, like that's the
Yeah.
career we're going towards. I think the majority of that is still the work that we've put in ourselves. Like we're completely independent. Like I book all of our tours. Like this is like everything that you're seeing is us.
Yeah,
I think that is still like irreplaceable. Like all of that work that we've put in on our own.
sure.
But school has helped me so much, like landing some sick internships that like might turn into some careers, or
Yeah.
like just having all of these like professors who have come from the industry who I can like bounce a resume off of, or I can ask like, hey, is this a good like press deck for a tour? Like just bouncing all that stuff off. So the resources there were incredible. And I did take a bunch of classes that helped a lot, like legal issues in the music industry, and
Sure.
like a lot of that stuff helped. And I think my business major did too. I hope and pray that I never have to do anything with it, because
Yeah.
I'm not a business guy, but it just like it helped me with like, okay, I understand like the fundamentals of like marketing and management, and
Right,
like we
right.
treat the band like a business because we want to be able to make it full time.
Sure.
So you
Yeah.
just be able to have that foundation of like, here's like how to run a business, and we can run the band that way. It's definitely helped me. So in like I am 100% happy that I went to school. I would do it again if I was myself 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's awesome.
All
John,
right,
what
let's
do you
talk.
feel like?
Oh, never mind. Good. Okay, let's talk about the band name. And then we're gonna talk about genre stuff. So who came up with the band name and what's the purpose of that?
Yeah, so I mean, it's not, I guess it's not, there's not a big crazy story or anything behind it. So we had like, Bryce and I had been in just like different projects since we were like super young, like I was saying before. So had a few different band names. And we definitely wanted, if we were coming up with a new name for like when like we kind of branched out from, we kind of stopped doing just like 4 hour cover sets, and we kind of realized we wanted to do something that was like, okay, let's focus on original music. We wanted to like have a new name for it. And so this was like years and years ago at this point. So we kind of like, I don't know, we're very much inspired by the kind of like memorable, kind of funny, but like stuck in your head names like Megadeth or like Anthrax or Pantera. And like when you think about some of those names, they're kind of funny. Like Megadeth is kind of like cliche and like cheesy,
Right.
but it's also awesome and like it looks sick. And so we kind of wanted to lean into that because we're definitely inspired by bands like that anyway. And so like Brotality kind of just came naturally. And I mean, we also like, we are brothers, and even with John, like we consider him a brother.
Yeah.
And so like
Don't leave John out.
so I mean, yeah, it kind of made sense, and us being like a kind of tight-knit three-piece, I think makes sense too. It's very much like a just group of brothers making brutal music.
Yeah, we're just brothers making brutal music.
I love how y'all are able to get the sound you do with a three-piece too. That is something that is pretty incredible.
Thank you. That means a lot. We try hard to like make sure everything sounds super full and like a concrete brick just getting dropped on your head live. So
yeah, that's awesome. And Jay, did you have a question about a genre?
Yeah. So let's talk thrash metal, or even preferred styles of music. Of course, I remember hearing you all a few years ago, and like, okay, this is really cool. Three-piece thrash metal band, type of thing. But how would you actually describe yourself, and what? Oh, did I freeze? Hold up. Freeze. Okay, let's see. Okay, there we go. I think we've caught up now. That's wild, dude. That was so weird. Okay, I start talking about thrash metal, and then just everything happens. Okay, so back to thrash metal. Yeah. So what influenced you all in your direction of music? And also, like, I guess, where do you see yourselves going for the future? And do you all classify yourselves as a thrash metal band, or like, do you all have another thing that you call yourselves?
Yeah, so we kind of never really like said or like say like what our genre is, because like we blend a lot of different stuff in there.
Right.
But I definitely see like the thrash metal connotations. Like again, very similar to what John said. Like we were raised on a lot of like the big four as well, so that's always been in our blood. But in terms of where we see ourselves going, so currently in the near future, we're releasing an EP. We just announced it today as of the filming of this video. And that EP is already like a like extension of kind of our sound from before. It definitely like brings it into new territory, but we are also heavily and pretty far into writing like the next batch of songs after that. And I feel like it's definitely Brotality, and there's some thrash elements in there, but like it's in a whole nother realm of like style. Like I feel like if I were to categorize it, like I'd maybe say like groove metal or a little bit of like prog. Like we listen to a lot of hardcore, and that's been big for us. So just those like super meaty grooves are like making their way into our writing process, and especially with John on drums now fully writing, like it's just like the grooves that he brings into things, and like the beats that he will come up with that then like he'll send me a beat, and I'll be like, dude, like let's go, and we'll write something nasty over it. Like there's some songs that have like beats that shouldn't sound like they're in metal at all, but then like we're creating this like super like awesome different like unique stuff over that I'm just so excited to get out there. So I know I'm kind of stumbling all over the place here, but I'm just so stoked. I'm like this next phase is it's kind of like another branch out, and our style is just changing even more, but I could not be more stoked about it.
Super cool.
So your first Hypernova that was released, is that technically an EP, or is that a full length? I mean, five songs.
Yeah, that's an EP, and that whole thing was pretty much just me learning how to record.
Okay.
Like for Christmas that year, I got a mic that I could record guitar with, and I was like, "Oh, cool! I'm gonna write." And like all I've been listening to is like Periphery and After the Burial. So I was like, "I'm gonna write a gent EP. Like we're gonna be a gent band." And I still love those bands, by the way. Absolutely love them. Yeah. But I was like, "Yeah, we're gonna write a gent EP." So that's like all trial and error of me recording and putting it up there. And we keep it up because it's like everybody starts somewhere. Put out bad music to start with, and then you'll grow from there. Like, so yeah, that's like, even that, like I tracked all the bass, I tracked all the drums on like on an electronic Roland drum kit. So like that was just me learning how to record.
And then so that was 2018, then 2019, the provocation.
Heck yeah.
Got it. So and so both of those were self-released. So how did that album happen?
Yeah.
The provocation was definitely more like the band coming together. Because at that point, we had Liam on drums with us. That was the first thing he released with us, and that was like after getting into bands like Mastodon and Baroness,
Okay.
and you can hear like the sound shift on that. I see your Once More Around the Sun picture disc back there. That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, so like that was after
You
getting
actually
into
recognize that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it
Yeah.
too.
Nice.
And that was like a big shift in our sound, and I feel like where we started writing not just for like, oh, like periphery's cool, let me try to write periphery riffs, to being like this is what I'm feeling, and that started kind of like, I feel like that's like the first like kind of Brotality sound, and then from there it progresses a lot as well. But I feel like that was kind of our first like real,
Like
really.
recording. Yeah. And then you got Worldwide Desolation 2021, and then The Woods Will End You 2022. Now, both of those.
Yeah, I'm looking through these albums right now.
That's right. Yeah. Those obviously have been gaining a lot of popularity in the Christian metal group and get posted.
Oh God, yes.
So love it. So my question now is how did it come about getting signed with Rottweiler and all that?
Well, yeah.
And then also, do you see yourself staying with them? Has it been a good deal?
So yeah,
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. So after the provocation dropped, we started writing World of Desolation, and they like at Rottweiler they had heard Salting the Wound because we released that as a single before the album came out. It was like the first single we released, and I don't even think we had we even recorded. I don't think we'd even recorded the whole album at that
No,
point.
we had just in the first recording session it was Salting the Wound, Foxhole, and Dirt Nap. Or no, so Salting the Wound, Spiral Out, and Dirt Nap.
Yeah. So yeah, we went in for just like a 3-song recording thing, released Salting the Wound. Rottweiler saw it and was like super interested. And then so they wanted to release the album that we had. And so we went into the studio like a few months later, I think, and ended up recording what we had written. And then yeah, released worldwide under them. Went super well, loved it. It was super easy and just great working with them. And then released Woods Will End You too under them. And yeah, like nicest guys in the world. Like we had a great experience with them. But so we had signed like a 2-album contract.
Okay.
So once both those albums came out, we just wanted to like, we haven't re-signed because we just want to like see what else might be out there, or just, again, not that anything was lackluster at all.
Right.
But just, like as a young band, we just don't want to necessarily like sign into another deal, but kind of just want to see what things look like too with us, possibly like what could we do on our own,
That's
right?
where those
Like,
business classes can come in handy too.
Amen.
yeah,
Right.
Seriously.
yeah,
Seriously.
We've all
Exactly.
heard those horror stories, right?
Oh God, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I know bands that have broken up to get out of record deals, but
oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. So again, like everything with those guys is perfect. I was texting Jairus this morning. Like we're still super tight. And
we interviewed him, and it was such a fun guy, such a good, and I could really tell his love and dedication for the bands on his label.
Right. Exactly.
yeah.
Awesome.
yes.
Yeah, but currently right now we're fully independent. Even all these new singles we're releasing, the new EP coming out, that's just all us two on our own.
Okay.
We're just we have the opportunity and the ability to do it right now, so we're just running with that.
That's awesome.
Man, that's super cool. So, what's your favorite album that you all done, or do you have one like
That we've recorded? Ooh.
And then let's talk. Then actually, we can also get into like just favorite albums overall. Like, what are you all listening to now?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah,
that kind of thing. Yeah.
I think in terms of favorite album that we've done, if you'll take an EP as an answer, this new EP coming up, it's just like we kind of put on the cap of like, hey, like we're doing this, like we're gonna release it independently, and like we want to be in the studio with the mindset of a producer and not just the band. So like it's self-produced, but we really made sure to like not just make it mean like self-produced by like not having a producer. Like we wanted to all be the producer for the album ourselves. So like we poured into like every second of the EP.
so y'all literally done everything: the mixing, producing, and now all of it.
For this EP, it was mixed and mastered by Joe Loftus.
Okay.
Mixed. mixed and recorded by Joe Loftus at JL Studios, and it was mastered by Alan Douches of
Oh,
West
gotcha.
West Side Music.
Okay.
So that was the only thing we didn't have our hands on this new stuff.
Wow, that's awesome.
But yeah, so we really like poured so much into this EP, and like I'm so happy that the songs came out. I just listened to the whole thing top to bottom on my run again this morning. I'm smiling ear to ear the whole time listening to it because I'm just so proud of it.
Yeah, and what, John, like, what are you into now? Like, what are some of your favorite bands right now? And then what are some, each of you, what is your favorite bands, 2 or 3, and what is a musical influence on your style?
Well, here's the problem. Every time I'm asked a question like this, I immediately forget every artist I've ever liked in my life. And it's amazing. But I could jog my memory with my most listened to playlist. So I can remember the human being that I am. I'm a big Meshuggah fan. I love
Yes.
I love a lot of just intense rhythm music. Like even in the EDM spectrum, I'm a big EDM fan also.
Yeah,
There's a lot of crazy music
I
in
dig it.
that genre. But progressive metal for sure, just all around. I'm a big Carnival fan. I love bands like
Okay.
Tesseract, Leprous. I'm a big fan of.
Mhm.
Any of the Buster Odholm projects. He's the guy from the band Throne, Humanity's Last Breath, Vildhjarta. I love all of them. That whole style for sure. That's all that's coming to me right now.
Nice. So is this kind of stuff gonna make their way in into the new music anywhere? Like you're gonna just blast beats
No.
off and over.
Believe it or not, a little bit. Like just in spirit, there are going to be songs that like there's going to be songs and artists that we all listen to that are so far removed from Brotality that when they do creep in, it is subtle, but it's
Right.
there. Like you're going to be making a decision based off of those artists, whether you are thinking about it or not.
Yeah. And who's your drummer influence?
Ooh, man, am I going to say Lars? So when you're a drummer and your parents like Metallica,
Yeah.
Right.
you end up learning from Lars. What you learn from him is,
Well, I was going to ask, is
figure
that
it out.
pre-trash can era or?
To be honest, eventually all of it. Like
Yeah.
I loved Metallica so much that I was like, all right, I got to listen to the bad ones too. I just like, everyone says they're bad, but I want to listen to more Metallica.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
So good. No, and I've found reasons to love all of their albums, honestly. But bands like that, Metallica, I've all the big four for sure. I was also a big Avenged Sevenfold fan, so Jimmy
yeah.
Sullivan, the Rev, I
Yes.
listened to him a lot. He was a big influence for me.
But not Mike Portnoy?
Wasn't too big into prog while I was learning.
Yeah.
More into it now for sure, but in those developmental stages, not
Yeah,
quite.
that makes
I forget which brother from Gojira is the drummer. Help me,
I
please.
forget also.
I don't know.
Mario.
Is it Mario?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Mario.
I
Mario.
don't know, but
They're
Gojira's
like-
got some sick music though. They're good.
Yeah, I just got into them kind of
nuts.
recently, and I'm very
Oh,
surprised.
yeah?
They're nuts. And then Bron Daler from Mastodon. Like that's who I'm into in the metal spectrum. But my favorite
Yeah.
drummer of all time is Benny Greb.
All right, who's that?
He's like just like I don't even know how to describe his music. It's just funky, groovy,
Okay.
alternative, jazzy kind of stuff. He has a brass band album.
Nice.
He's definitely my favorite of
Jay,
all time.
Jay, you know who it is. You know?
Yeah.
I figured. I
Benny
always,
Greb's awesome.
always like Buddy Miles. I got
Oh,
two of those albums. He was the drummer.
Yeah, Buddy Miles and Buddy Rich.
Yeah.
both.
Oh,
Yeah,
Buddy Rich
Buddy.
too. Yeah. Awesome. All right, Reece, what about you?
So in terms of like bands that I'm like hyped on right now, most of what I listen to is not even metal, I think. Like I'm always surprised by my Spotify Wrapped. It's like 5 artists that aren't remotely metal. So
Locals are allowed to listen to other things.
that is
Right.
definitely one thing I've learned over time.
Yeah.
So I think like for me, like I guess just I don't know about bands that like you're gonna hear it in our new music, but bands that inspire me musically. I've kind of been listening to bands like Radiohead, like their weirder stuff, like newer stuff. Sigur Rós, they're awesome. And then like some weirder like stuff that seems so pretentious. But like there's this awesome band called Godspeed You Black Emperor.
Yeah, familiar with that.
Like,
I've heard of
yep,
it. Yeah.
yep, really great band. So I listen to a lot of stuff like that, and then I would say in the metal sphere, a lot of like new hardcore bands. Like Dealer is one of my favorite bands. They have like so much energy, and so does there's a band called Johnny Booth that has like a ton of like modern hardcore, just passion, just in their music. It just like exudes passion. And then yeah, like Knock Loose has been a huge inspiration for us all throughout Brotality. And so has Kubla Khan. So those two bands especially, I think Bryce would probably second that.
Kubla Khan.
Yep, there you go.
Nice, there we go. Yeah.
Yep, those are like huge. Yeah, and I mean, you really pick any band from like the emerging like wave of like hardcore, and we're probably big fans.
And what's a bass player influence?
This one's always hard for me.
Yeah.
Because like to be honest, this might sound like sacrilege, but like I guess when I listen to music, when I listen to yeah, I don't know if I like pick out or listen for the bass. I'm usually just like kind of sitting back and listening to the whole song. But I think like so I don't know. I feel like my answer might be boring sometimes.
What about the dude from Dance Gavin Dance?
Yeah, I think for me, like probably my biggest inspiration is Tim Furyk from Dance Gavin Dance. Dance Gavin Dance is like
wow.
probably my favorite band.
Yeah.
I should have
Interesting.
mentioned him. Yeah, and he passed away. I think like 2 years ago now. So yeah, Tim Furyk from Dance Gavin Dance is like just an amazing bass player. So probably my biggest inspiration on bass.
Awesome. All right. And Bryce?
Oh, so in terms of bands, Mastodon and Baroness have always been a really solid top two for me. And then even beyond that, I love Reliant K. Reliant K is so good.
Yeah.
Especially their Forget Not Slow Down is one of my favorites ever. But then like other bands like Reece nailed it with Kubla Khan. I also love Death Heaven.
Me too.
Death Heaven's so good. I've been listening to a lot of Godspeed You Black Emperor as well. Two of my biggest discoveries of 2023, and then I'll end it here so I don't just keep listing bands. I can do it all day. Two of my biggest discoveries of 2023. This one's a mouthful, but they're called "The World Is a Beautiful Place and I Am No Longer Afraid to Die."
That's the name of a band.
Yeah, that's the name of the
Wow.
band. Amazing band. They're like they came from like Midwest emo with like whiny out of tune vocals, but then like in the weirdest development ever, they've turned into like progressive rock, and like their newest album ends with a 15 and a 19-minute song back to back.
Wow.
And they're just like these like the 19-minute song is just two extremely cathartic builds, and they have lots of strings and like synths and like super good music. So I love The World Is a Beautiful Place and I Am No Longer Afraid to Die.
I mean, I'm
Now I'm looking it up.
I think you sold me. You sold me.
And then another one is Chat Pile. Chat Pile is like they're like noise rock, but like also like just sludge, like industrial metal out of Oklahoma City. And it's just like insanely grimy, like disgusting production. The vocalist like sounds like he's being tormented the whole time. And like their new album God's Country is like it's like super like dark sounding, and like the lyrical content is very like dark as well, but it doesn't feel like dark in a cheap way. Like it feels like they're coming from this, and like this is all they see around them, and like it's made their way into the music. But it creates like a 30-something minute super powerful and super unique album. So I listen to that, like it just happens to be a couple times a week because I'll put a song on and then just go through the rest of the album. So Chat Pile is huge for me as well.
And who's a shredder influence for you?
Oh, two names that don't get enough credit. One is Sam Vallon from the band Caligula's Horse. They're like a proud band. I think they're from like New Zealand or something.
Okay.
Insanely good guitarist, like ridiculously good. Every note that he hits is exactly what I want to hear. And then another amazing guitarist is Nick Lee from the band Moontooth. He like brings in like these bluesy like these like bluesy little runs into like metal that's super catchy but fantastic solos, riffs galore. I have a shirt from Moontooth that literally all it says is just riffs across the front, and then there's a tiny little Moontooth logo on the sleeve. But yeah, Nick Lee and Sam Vallon both deserve infinitely more credit than they get. They're so good.
I love how you were schooling me on music and artists I've never heard of.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah,
there's
me too.
always so much out there, and there's always something new
It
to learn.
really is.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There
Yep.
really is. There
I love
really
the
is.
diversity too. Yeah.
hmm Oh man. Yo, so let's talk about music theory for a second, because I know you all went to school. How much does music theory play into composition? Because I'll just say this: I noticed with a lot of bands and in a lot of genres, not just metal, but like people a lot of times come up with great music, but sometimes theoretically it's not correct. Not to say that there has to be a correct way to do things, but yeah, some things. And sometimes, of course, with like jazz playing such a big role in a lot of music, people do think of some weird chords, but sometimes some things really do end up just sounding just theoretically incorrect. And then also a lot of people, I also find that a lot of people write all their songs in one key, like a lot of metal bands, and it's like, there's not a lot of exploration, especially like in hardcore. I mean, hardcore is kind of like it may be more acceptable, but it's like everybody's like playing like in E, or everybody's playing in like B or C sharp, saying or whatever. But how does music theory play into, like I said, play into your composition, if at all?
So it definitely does. You can't understate the power of music theory. I do most of our like composition in terms of like riff writing and kind of like loose song structuring from that. So like I use a lot of theory in my writing process. But I will like caveat that with it's not all theory. Like I still definitely use a lot of ear, and sometimes it will just be like kind of picking and choosing and using notes, but then like, okay, I found this cool chord by accident, but then my theory knowledge allows me to like analyze what that chord is and then what else I can use with it. So then I can actually just build a song off of it instead of just like, oh, this chord is whatever it is and move from there. So we definitely use a good amount of theory and stuff, and it especially comes in with my solo writing as well. When I write solos, I like to really sit down with the song, with every part of it, and like I don't really write a solo as just like, oh, let me noodle until I find something. Like I will sit down and write it like phrase at a time and really dive in theoretically. So I think theory does have a big part in our writing, though it is not all of it, because I think it's still important like to be able to just sit down, bang out some riffs and use whatever sounds cool.
Yeah, so let's talk about vocals also. Vocal influences, and just vocal techniques that you might want to share, or especially, I think I spoke about this in one of the other interviews. Sometimes when you're doing a lot of vocals, especially harsh vocals, a lot of people tend to like lose their voice or not know how to sing properly or whatever. So is there any techniques, any influences, any advice you can give on vocals?
Yeah. So for me, like it's interesting because it's still weird. Like I don't even in the front of my mind, I don't consider myself like a vocalist because I've always just like played bass. And so me like learning vocals was just a thing that kind of just naturally evolved out of like we needed a singer for a few gigs when we were still doing covers and we weren't going to cancel. So like it was kind of that, and now we're here. And so yeah, I've kind of had to like discipline myself, and I think we both have, because for the first few like years of doing vocals, even before I screamed, or did like harsh metal vocals, I would lose my voice. Like every practice, every show, gone afterwards. Like I remember going to like school, like going when I was still in high school, like the next week after a show and just like couldn't even talk in class, I had no voice. And so I never really liked vocals for a while because I couldn't talk most of the time.
Wow.
So, for me, like I've never like had any like professional lessons or anything like that. But I've like in recent years, I would say in the past like 2 years, probably like since after we released The Woods Will End You, after that kind of vocal recording session, since we've been like going on these long tours each summer, like losing my voice isn't an option. Like we
Right.
have booked like 6, 7 week tours where you're doing 4 to 5 shows a week. Like I can't lose my voice at one of the shows. So like there's that pressure pushed me to like discipline myself more and just practice more. For me, like that's been the biggest thing. Like it's very rare that I do lose my voice anymore. Even like we had practiced the other day and like I had like felt a little bit sick. And so I had a sore throat. And so like learning how to like, okay, still got to get through the songs, but I'm not gonna scream today. Like that, having that knowledge of like vocal preservation, drinking a ton of water, like taking precautions, warming up. I warm up for like 30 minutes before we go on at every show. Even if that means sitting in a car, like in the driver's seat, just like doing like like doing stuff like that.
Right.
So yeah, I guess
You
it
don't
just
do the old trick, a shot of whiskey or something.
not as of yet.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But no, that's valid though, man. Because I know
Yeah.
so many people lose their voices through the years, and there's definitely a ton of ways to do things. But that's great stuff though, because
Yeah.
I mean
So-
the struggle is real out here.
So y'all have been able to tour a pretty good bit, for what you did with going to school and all that. And so now that you're graduated and you're very close, I don't know if John's going to go back to school or not, but I imagine no.
No.
So y'all are you're booking your own tours, and are you got an aggressive tour schedule coming up?
Yeah, so this summer we hit the road for it's about 4 weeks this year, but it's 4 dense weeks. Like each show each week is like a solid 5 shows, sometimes even 6 shows a week.
Whoa.
And we're just hitting like we've kind of learned over the past 2 years from doing a lot like down into like the southeast and like into Texas and areas like we've learned where our like bread and butter is, and this year we just really wanted to focus on like just smashing those areas that have really been that bread and butter. So this summer we're really focusing on like the Midwest, the Rust Belt, like all through like Ohio, Indiana, Wisconsin, and then down into like I think the farthest over we go is like Nebraska. Then we go down into like Missouri, back through like Kentucky, and then back through like Ohio, Pennsylvania, and finishing in our home state of New York. But yeah, so it's a dense tour schedule. We're out from July 9th to August 4th. We have the flyers all over all of our social medias where you can check out the shows. We're still like filling in a date or two. So if you check out the flyer and you're in one of those areas, definitely let us know. But yeah, so we're hitting the road hard this summer. And then even before then, we have a couple festivals. Like we're at Kingdom Come Fest out in Indiana. We're at Agape Fest in Pennsylvania. And then our fall rolls on heavy too. Like the whole month of September, October, we're pretty booked up. And then yeah, like there's our dog outside. But yeah, just like I mentioned before, once Reece graduates in December, it's like time to tour as much as possible. Like we'll be living in a van as much as we can make work.
Yeah.
I'm buying a river.
Yeah, he's ready for a vocal debut. Dog is.
Yeah. So starting with John, what are y'all listening to when you're on tour, like in the tour bus or van? Are you like listening to podcasts? You listen to country? What you got going on?
Funny you mentioned. Oddly, very little.
Okay.
I like when we're on long drives, I'll kind of just like I'll hardly even sleep sometimes. I'll just kind of stare, just kind of empty my head for as long as possible. I think that feels good. When I do listen to music, it's usually like with intention. Like I'm like, oh, I want to check this artist out. I'm looking for something in particular, but like I don't do a lot of casual music listening. So like last tour I discovered this band Igor. They're a super eclectic black metal electronic blending
Nice.
everything under the sun kind of project. But they have this very operatic female vocalist who has another project called Corpo Mente, which was the project I really got into while we were on tour. Super interesting, again, kind of sort of electronic, but also jazzy fusion with just super crazy operatic vocals. She doesn't sing in a language. She's a yeah. So like crazy stuff like that will be what I look for on tour, but I don't do a lot of casual listening on tour. I like to kind of empty my head as much as possible.
Which is crazy because sometimes we'll have like a 6-hour drive and it'll be like, oh, John, like, what'd you do? We'll be in different parts of the RV on the drive. And it'll be like, yeah, I just sat there. And he's like perfectly content with it. Like, I looked out the window for a bunch of hours.
Music out, like just good. Yeah. So what about
Nice.
you guys? Do you listen to podcasts or music or?
Ooh, I recently kind of getting into podcasts. There's one podcast that does some like true crime stuff that I listened to a lot last summer. But like like that's just kind of like when I'm extra bored and I don't know what type of music to put on. But the big thing that I've been doing is making like monthly playlists, and I've been doing that for the past couple years, and that's been awesome. I'll just take like a couple of the songs that I've been listening to heavily over the past month, throw it all in a playlist, and that way if I don't know what to listen to, I can just put that playlist on and it's all the music I'm currently listening to. Or I can go back like 2 years and like, oh, this is what I was listening to in February of 2022. And it's a nice little like time capsule back. It like takes me back to whatever I was feeling during that time. It's awesome. So that's kind of been my big one. Just trying to listen to as many albums as possible.
Yeah, there we go. You know, it's actually, I do have another question about your music. Let's talk about lyrics. I know that we've talked about Christianity a little bit, and we want to maybe delve into that a little bit more. Do you all consider yourselves a Christian band? And then what is your approach to writing lyrics? You know,
So we've like thought a lot about this whole question of like, do we call ourselves a Christian band? Because like, obviously, like I write all the lyrics, and like, so Jesus is in almost all of our lyrics anyway, just because naturally as a Christian, he's gonna show up.
Right.
And so that's certainly in there. And I never try to like shrink back if I write a line that I like because it's too much or something. They just want it to be as authentic as possible, and my faith is very much a part of who I am. So that's natural in there. But at the same time, like as artists, we feel like there's a calling on our lives to give people hope that they haven't heard before. Like we want to be the band that plays in the middle of like two bands that are completely not Christian. Like if it means like playing with a band that's satanic, but we can reach to that audience that does not at all think that they're going to hear that Jesus loves them that night, like then that's where we want to be. So we've always felt that calling. And so like by calling ourselves a Christian band, not that there's anything wrong with the Christian metal scene. Like I said, we've grown up in it and we still play festivals full of like a bunch of Christian metal bands. But by calling ourselves a Christian metal band, it makes the audience think that like, if I'm not a Christian, then that's not for me. And so it's not at all a matter of us being like ashamed to embrace us being Christians. Like I just said it, I'll say it again and again. Like I'm pretty outspoken about it, and like I said, it's in all of our songs. But by calling ourselves like a Christian metal band, to people who aren't Christian but maybe who listen to metal, it's like, oh well, that's not for me then. Like that's for the Christians. And so we've always felt called to kind of like go against that norm by just, hey, we're a group of guys, and like faith is just gonna be there no matter what.
It's just part of
we're
you,
making music.
right?
Yeah, it's just a part of us.
But
right?
do you have a JPM?
Wait, what is that?
Jesus per minute, like
Jesus per minute.
Yeah.
That's a new one. I have not heard of that.
Yeah. No, that's good. I mean, authenticity is that should be the first and foremost thing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's good. Yeah, and I mean, so yeah, y'all have no issues with playing. You could play a church or you could go play a secular venue. It doesn't matter, right?
Yeah. Sure.
And you're gonna be yourself no matter where you're at.
Yes.
Exactly. And yeah, that's what we do a lot. We will on tour, it'll be a church one night and then like some bar where we played a bar where people are like beating each other up outside. There was blood on the ground after the end of the night. So, like at the end of the night, like those people heard the same message that the people that came out to the church did.
Sure.
Yeah.
So what? So when you're on tour, what is your favorite thing to eat? You have like a favorite snack that you got to have?
Oh, dude. So Reese and I, and our whole family have been vegan for like almost 18 years. So it limits things a little bit, but not if you know where to look, because
So
there's
no
so much.
beef jerky sticks. No.
John can talk about
John.
that. John
I
can
talk
talk
about
about
meat sticks for hours if you need me to.
Oh yeah, that's your gig, huh? Meat sticks.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
But
They
yeah,
throwing it in
dude,
our faces because we're vegetarians, right? Like, let me throw this in our face.
No, vegans, not vegetarians. No. I didn't know if y'all just.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant vegan. Yeah, that's even worse. It's like,
You just munch on carrots, or I mean, I don't know. You don't educate people, right?
yeah. Well, the thing is, there's a lot of stuff out there that is so fake that it happens to be vegan. Dude, Walmart honey buns and their pies, they're vegan. Dude, Taco Bell always absolutely rips.
Okay.
And we'll do a lot of things where like we'll just like get a bag of salad from Walmart, just pour some dressing in it, and then shake the crap out of it.
Yeah.
And then like that's a great meal right there.
Also, because it kind of makes it sound like we like just eat lettuce and then like just crap. That's not the case. Like,
You know, those Brotality guys are basically rabbits.
yeah, there we go.
But like, no, in all seriousness, after like 18 years of doing it, like we do eat like a lot of different stuff, and it's not just bags of salad. We actually like, luckily, like we're very blessed to have like the RV that we travel in as kind of like our tour rig.
Yeah.
So it has like a full fridge in it, and we pack like 2 extra coolers. So like we eat like really well on the road. Like
Yeah.
we're able to not just like get fast food. Like it's honestly pretty rare that we do, because how are you gonna fit an RV through a fast food?
True.
Like, right.
True.
So like we honestly like we stock up at like Walmart's like twice a week, and it's we eat really well on the road.
That's cool.
Okay, so now I gotta ask a couple of like vegan questions.
Yeah.
Sure.
So there's a lot of meat substitutes out there.
Yeah.
I'll name 3: Beyond, Impossible, and Morningstar, who all have like, super huge lines of stuff. So what's your favorite vegan meat alternative?
Ooh, that's a really good question.
Beyond Meat, dude. In my strategic management class last semester, we did a case study on Beyond Meat, and the whole time I was just looking at like pictures going through the company. Man, my mouth was like watering the entire case study. And then finally, like a couple of weeks ago, I got my hands on one, and it was ecstasy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I want to like also, I would probably say Beyond Meat, but at the same time, like it's expensive, and like a lot of those substitutes can be really expensive. So we by no means are rich. So like we usually like if we ever have something like that, it's not just like, oh yeah, burger night twice a week. It's like, that's not like a usual part of our diet, just because of how expensive it is. Just at this point.
I don't know. We always heard that if you're a touring metal band, you're pretty wealthy unless you're a bass player.
Oh, right.
John and I are taking all the money.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So John, we'll start with you on this one. What's your dream band? If you pick one band to tour with, who would it be?
Ooh, that's hard. Dream band. How practical does this need to be? Is this something that's like
Anything?
Doesn't matter.
No,
It could be Lady Gaga for all I care. I don't know.
Yeah.
you know? Man, that's a tough one. Honestly, maybe like
Skillet.
maybe like early Mastodon.
Oh,
I think would be up there.
okay.
Yeah, I think just because they were like touring while they were very small, and I would love to be a part of that process.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Who's next?
Take it away.
Do you know?
Take it away.
Well, I don't know yet.
Cool.
You want?
I guess the Mastodon would be pretty sick, just because I would hope to talk to Bill Kelleher a bunch about guitars.
Right.
Yeah, dude, that would be pretty sick. Also, I think like any of the bands that are doing like big stuff now would be awesome. Just like seeing the places that metal is getting to, like how bands like Knocked Loose are playing like Coachella and like Turnstile's playing Rolling Loud. Like to be able to play like that and be part of that front of bands that are bringing metal into places that it's never been before, that would be super sick.
Nice.
Yeah, I know my answer. I think August Burns Red because they're like it would be a dream come true. And it would certainly be like way bigger shows than we've ever had the chance to play before. So like on that front, just like outreach, it would be amazing. But also like I'm a huge August Burns Red fan, and like as people, I feel like they are like probably the people I would want to like be around most if I was like on the road with a band all the time, like especially Jake Lures and Matt Greiner, are like two huge inspirations just as people in the music
Well, I
scene.
think if
Like
y'all keep going the way you're going, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't be able to play a show with August Burns Red at some point. I mean, seriously.
well, thank you, man. Thank you. We hope so. That's yeah,
Yeah.
That would be an absolute dream.
yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
That's somebody's phone.
Yeah.
Yo. Yeah. Who's what? Anyway, yeah, somebody's phone's going off, but it's okay. It's okay. Yo. All right, so Christian bands. Let's shout out some Christian bands real quick. Who you listening to Christian wise?
Ooh, I think for me, X-Toll is probably like my favorite band that's like I guess considered a Christian metal. Especially like their last album, their self-titled from like 2012 or something,
Good stuff.
is like a top 5 album of all time. It's like it is so underrated, and I think it's
Yeah.
crazy to me that like that album doesn't like even like the earlier stuff I feel like is more like well known and stuff because that's kind of like what they got more popular on. But then that album from 2012 is like I think it's like near flawless.
Yeah.
And that inspires I think of bands like in the Christian metal scene in terms of how they like sound, what type of music they're writing. I feel like they inspire me in metal the most, just like their progressive influences, but still heavy, but also very catchy melodies.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, I think X-Toll is the first that comes to mind.
I agree, honestly.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. They're so good.
Heck yeah. I want to shout out Convictions. Convictions is awesome, and we've also gotten to know them very well just from like playing festivals and some shows with them. So they're always like super great and super supportive. And Chaotic Resemblance is awesome. I just love
I'm
that
digging them.
people.
Yeah, that's definitely one of Jimmy's favorites.
We're setting up an interview with them. Those are some
Oh, cool.
Heck yeah. We've like every time we run into any of those guys, but especially Travis, like Reece and I will typically go on a run with him because Reece and I are big distance runners, and so is Travis.
Yeah.
And when we played out in his neck of the woods last summer, they like Travis and Selena like had us over at their house to like stay the night, and then we went on like an 11-mile run in the morning that was like straight up a mountain and then straight back down.
Oh wow.
And it was brutal, but like the best run ever because it was just full of amazing conversation. Like, so love those guys from the bottom of our heart.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, John.
Yeah, I was definitely going to say Convictions. Honestly, was
Okay.
is my big pick for sure. I love what they're doing. I think they're putting a very creative spin on a very contemporary sound. I think they're great.
All right. This is a fun question here. All right, we'll start with John, and then we'll go to Bryce and Reece. What is one thing that maybe nobody watching this interview might not know about you? Like, do you have a special talent? Have you done something interesting that maybe nobody else really knows, or put you on the spot there?
A little bit, a little bit. I don't know what's obvious and what isn't. Aside from maybe my degree, I have a bachelor's in computer science. I'm very
Okay.
much in software,
Yeah, that's cool.
but a lot of
That's really cool.
like when we demo and stuff, like I'm usually fronting it a little bit. I do a lot of audio engineering, and in my other projects I've recorded and mixed myself.
So you kind of
Um,
nerd out on that stuff and
yeah, a little bit, a little bit. I
Okay.
like the technical stuff.
Cool.
I like engineering of all sorts. Yeah, software is
Well,
big for me.
Well, I congratulate you for actually using your degree. That's awesome. Not many people do that anymore.
A little bit. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
use it loosely. I think the
Yeah.
most important thing it kind of gave me was that, I was able to delve into that analytical kind of mindset a little more. Like it teaches you how to really analyze and troubleshoot well.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of gonna go the same route of John here. So I'm an English major actually. I've always like loved reading, and the past few years I've gotten really into writing fiction. And so it's like I kind of like see the band is like plan A, and like will always be a huge part of me, and like will take up most of my time. But then in any other extra time I have, I write all the time.
Mhm.
And so I'm like working on a novel that I've been doing for the past couple of years.
Oh, cool.
So that is like takes up like the other side of my mind. So I guess that's a fun fact, a nerdy
Yeah.
fact, but it's pretty fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Reece, the author. Who knew?
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. Well, let's
Come on, Bryce hadn't answered.
yeah, that's come on, Bryce. Let's
I can almost do a backflip.
Almost.
Wow. Nice, Bryce.
Almost. I'm getting real close. I'm getting real close. One of these days, I'm gonna just
Well,
watch.
All right. When I catch you on tour, that's what I'm going to say. Show me your backflip.
Oh no. Oh
Yeah.
my, he's gonna
You
get
know,
so hurt. It'll
for
cancel the
you,
tour.
right after this interview's over, I'll go get my first one. For
No
you.
way.
No, I think the fact you are long distance runners is a cool fact too, for sure.
Yeah,
That's
that is.
Yeah.
pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Love running. Ran all through high school, ran in college a little bit. Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's your favorite thing about being a Christian? Let's go in, I guess, in order. You can start.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I mean, I think like for me, like it always kind of comes down to like basics. As much as like I can go off on like tangents of just wanting to research like theology and like dive more into like the just different aspects of what it looks like to like walk beside Jesus in like day-to-day life. Like obviously that's a huge part of what it means to be a Christian. But I think it comes down to just like at the end of the day, like I guess I would ask myself, like, where do I get my hope from?
Mm.
Like, if not from a savior, then like where else? Right? And like I always have thought about how like, you know, in this world, like even like our closest friends and family, like as much as we love each other, we're all human, and so there's gonna be some point in our lives where like that person can't be there for you, and
Right.
so like I don't think we're just called to somehow be there for ourselves and work up the courage to fight depression by ourselves when people can't be there for us, right? Like I don't think that that's how we're wired. I think we're like wired to need something greater. I know that in my own struggles with like anxiety and depression, I've felt that more than ever, right? Like I need saving. Like I need something more than this temporary despair that I feel. And so I guess for me, like knowing that like even when I'm suffering, because I will suffer, being a Christian doesn't mean you're not going to suffer. Like when I'm suffering, knowing that it's not the end, knowing that
Yeah.
like I know how the story ends and like it doesn't end here, being able to hold on to that like just indisputably has helped me like so much. So I guess just yeah, that like that peace that comes with knowing at the end of the day that like Jesus really is there and like he's actually got me through this, that gives me so much hope and just fights all my unbelief.
That's good.
I mean, I don't know how to get a better answer than that. Yeah, I 100% what he said.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anything to add, John?
No. To be perfectly honest, I don't think I would consider myself a Christian down to like the technicality of it. But as you could imagine, touring with this band, I've observed quite a bit of the scene and the faith.
Right.
And honestly, I think the biggest thing that jumps out to me is just the raw passion of it. Like I've seen people break down on their knees in tears in front of a stage, and I don't think you would really get that anywhere else. I mean, it's definitely very hard to achieve. And I just, anything that results in anyone being that passionate about anything, I think is incredible to witness.
Sure. That's awesome.
That's amazing, though, for sure.
So what can the Christian Metal Group do for Brotality? How can we help you?
Cool. I mean, honestly, like you guys are always so like welcoming and just like helpful already. So just like thank you for everything that you have done and that you do for us. So we really appreciate that. But like just like we say in our posts when we drop new music, like every single stream really does matter. Like every single share really, really does matter. Because at the end of the day, like the modern music industry is very like numbers driven and like even like content driven through like social media. So I think literally just like every share counts, every stream counts. So just continuing to have an amazing platform like you guys have, and like we are honored to be a part of that and to be featured on it. But like just seriously, just continue doing what you guys are doing because we appreciate it so much, and that really does help like the world.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate y'all's time. If there's anything else you want to add, that's it.
Yeah, no, just thank you for having us. And yeah, like our EP, It Feeds, drops on June 28th.
Nice.
So the pre-save for that is
birthday.
in our bio
That's
right
awesome.
now all over.
Oh, wow.
So,
You planned that, didn't you?
yeah, gotta do a little promo on there. Yeah. June
55,
that comes out. So we've got a lot of new music coming soon, and
All right.
we're stoked to share it.
That's so good. Well, y'all check out BrotalityBand.com. Check them all the social medias, Spotify, and catch a tour. Go buy some merch because I've heard from many bands. I know well enough that streaming it helps the music, but it does not pay. So go buy some merch.
Yes, absolutely.
Yep.
Y'all have a great day. Thank you.
God bless
for your
y'all.
time.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.